Alrighty, I think we are streaming here now. As far as I know, yep. Cool. Hi, I'm Sean Darling, here with Fable Forge, and today I'm working on a bird character in Moho 14.4. I've been doing some rigging on it. I did the drawing of it yesterday, and today I'm just working out, just literally put in the bones, and now I'm going to be creating actions and stuff for it, and smart actions and things like that. So yeah, hope you guys can hang out, follow along, or not follow along necessarily, but hang out while I do this and ask questions and interact and whatever you like. Yeah, hopefully it'll be fun. I just like to do these live streams to take what I'm doing, at least put it out there, Okay, so first thing, we've got the bird. Right now, all of his bones are in, but I'm going to go ahead and turn down all the power because I typically like to do, what do you call it, point binding for a lot of stuff. It's just the more direct, more controllable method in my opinion. And so I'm just going to take all of that strength and remove it. There are some instances I don't remove the power of stuff, if I want it to have a rubber hose-ish, feel or things like that. But for the most part, I like to point bind stuff and just make it a lot more precise. So let's go ahead and start off with our beak, I think, the beak top. I'm just going to go here into the beak, the actual beak. And we need to create actually a control bone for this. So back into the bird bone layer, I'm going to create a new bone, making sure nothing else is selected. And we're going to call this beak. Now, typically on a puppet, or whatever, you'd want the jaw to move. This might have a little bit slight movement upward for the beak, but I'm going to just do just open and close because there is no smile or anything like that going on here. It's just a solid beak. So I'm going to do that, just a simple open and close for this. In fact, I think probably only going to do the one direction. So I'll just leave it as a single action like that. We're going to create this action here. I'm going to come up to about frame 24. And I am just going to turn, whoa, we have to turn the strength of that bone down, don't we? So we're going to go back out to our main line here, find the power here, and turn that down. Back into the action again on that bone layer, making sure that we're there. 24, we're on the action. And now we can turn this to whatever our open position is going to be. And we can also put limits on this in a bit, but I'm going to make these linear because that's what I like to do with most of my actions. Just keeps them from slowing down and speeding up during the action. If you're watching, say hello. We've got a chat open down here. I'll answer questions for the most part and your comments and all that. So with this open, now we need to move the particular parts as well. I'm going to see if I can just move the whole beak top here as one. And I'm going to have to go in once I sort of reposition this and adjust the corners here. Obviously, I just want to make sure I moved this highlight with the other at the same time. So I'm going to increase my size of this just a little bit to help warp that up. And like I said, put this back to linear. Just kind of see. I think that works fine. For the top, and then the bottom of the beak is going to get a lot more flex or play, action, whatever they call it. Whatever other innuendo I can come up with. Alrighty, so here's that. We're going to pull this one down a lot more. I'm going to have to do some type of a inner mouth on this guy apparently. So what I might do here is flex. Let me make this a little smaller. flex this around like this to give it a little more open kind of shape. Looks like I might need another couple of points, but I'm not sure yet. So the top here, we're going to do the kind of the same thing, I think. Give them a little more of a squawk, you know, just a bit more of a open feel like that. Let's go ahead and make these linear, make the other one on the beak bottom linear, because I did forget. There we go, linear. And I think that is fine. It has the animated feel. I'm going to pull the shadow down a little bit though as well. Beak shadow, beak shadow. All right. Not much. I mean, it doesn't like just go crazy. And this doesn't really need to be like this, but and I could probably mask that, but I'm not worried about it. It's going to be behind it the whole time. I just want to make sure that when the beak opens, you know, and obviously we're going to need to put an inner mouth there. Maybe I should do that now. Let's go back to the main line, go back to the beak above the head. We're going to make a new layer, making sure we're on layer 1. If you guys are watching, say hello. I am Sean Darling with FableForge, and today we are working on this bird in Moho. I'm going to make a inner mouth here. For the inner mouth lower, I think. This will be like the inside. So I'm just going to draw a shape and then come back and tweak that here in a second. So inner mouth lower, I don't care what color it is as long as it's approximately what we need. Something to go inside the mouth, right? And this is going to just be a few points, just enough to control the shape when it happens. I'm going to peek these ends with Control P. This one here, Control P. Always control your P. And then I'm going to go back, I think, into our action. So we'll go back to the bone here, open. We're going to come back in here. I just want to see where this will be. We don't want it behind the body, obviously. So this has to also not be behind the shadows. So inner mouth lower needs to be above that. Just need to make sure that's where it stays. Okay, and then here is okay. I'm not really sure on that shape just yet. I'm going to flatten it out a little bit more though, because it doesn't need to show or even begin to show until later. So I'll just do like so and give that a linear setup there. And then when it's open at 24, I'm just going to make sure that this is here, that we have a little more, like I said, actual shape to it. Something like that. These don't even need to be where they're at. I wasn't sure if they were going to show. So we'll go ahead here and go linear. You know, that's probably fine. In fact, this might even be a little higher most of the way through. And then it can drop off when it's closed, depending. We want to make sure that's not sticking out here, though. There we go. Whatever. All right, so that's like so. It's got a fast sort of pop up there I don't care for, but let's just make sure this then has a little bit of height to it, even in the beginning. That's totally fine. So now when we come across, that's fine. All right, so this guy's going to need to be colored, whatever color it's going to be. Also, we need to create the upper inner mouth. So that's inner mouth lower. These need to be behind this. It doesn't matter if it's behind the eye or not, because, you know, it's still where it needs to be. I'm going to create another one, though, and this can be upper, lower, or, I mean, in front of or behind. It doesn't matter. Upper beak, not shadow, but upper beak, inner mouth. A little overly descriptive for a title, but, you know. And we're going to just create another shape that is going to take that place of that when the mouth's open. It does not have to be very many points at all. I'm probably putting way too many on here for what it's going to be. You can always delete them, but I like to cover, you know, my butt. All right, so we're going to try and make these not show, like this one over here I see is showing as well right at the beginning, like that. Good, perfect. And then upper inner beak, mouth, we need to go to the bone layer and select the open action again. And when it's open, I want that one also to take the shape it's supposed to. We're going to change the colors of these and get that, maybe get the stroke off of it here in a minute. There we go. This guy, I'm just going to put this up to where these need to be, just out of the way. This just shows just a little bit. It's not very much at all. I'm going to peek that one. And I think that's more than enough. We need to make sure again that this is not showing out the side of the mouth. Make everything linear. And that should be good. Mostly what we need. So somewhere around here, I'm going to tweak this point up a little. And that's fine. So back up to the main line. Let's go ahead and change the colors now. I'm going to make the beak and the beak top. We'll just make those invisible for the moment. This is the inside of the mouth, so I'm probably going to do like kind of the beak color but darker, kind of a burnt orange or even a brown. Will be fine for that. Make sure we're on 0 and on the layer that we want. So inner mouth lower. We'll just select this and kind of, I'm going to start by selecting this orange and then just make this a lot darker. So maybe something less saturated, even like that, to make these the same. And I may go and make these even darker, but it's just the inside of a mouth, right? So we're going to go up to the top one now, do the same thing, and just paste that color in that I copied before. And we'll turn these beaks back on and see what it looks like when that opens. So we'll go to our bone layer right here and test our movement now. Okay, cool. I think I'm going to make this black line like a dark brown, darker than the one that's here. So inner, upper inner there. We're going to select our shape. Of course, we're going to have to turn off the beaks again. We're going to select our shape and make our stroke that brown, but we're going to make it darker. That works. And then we'll copy that color. Go to the lower one, take that stroke and make it that same color. That way when we turn them back on and they're open, I think it'll look better. We can even thin out the line probably. So back onto the bone layer, I will test that out a little bit. So that's much better. I think that works. Might even make these, make this line more slanted and make it a wider view, but I'm not sure. That can just be point animation later, I guess, if I really wanted it to, but I think that works perfectly. Cheap. All right, so if we want, which we should probably do, a blinking eye. This one is going to probably, I don't know if it should have a lid, probably not, and we'll make it just the black shrinks down, maybe. I'm going to think about that for a second because that has its own simplicity, but maybe problems as well. He doesn't have to look left and right, so that's why I'm considering doing that, which is probably what we should do. Let's do that. I am going to make the eye and the highlight. Where's my eye and my highlight? On top of the head. So here's head, in around, beak, highlight, beak, top, wing. Where's my eye? There we go. The eye and the highlight in the same grouping, obviously, and then I'm going to take this, use masking on it, hide all. We don't need to worry about strokes, but in case it did, I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the strokes there, exclude strokes. And now this, when it blinks, should mask out that highlight, which is what we want. And we're going to create an action for blinking now. So I'm going to go over here, make sure we have no bones selected in our bone layer. Right there. And we're going to create a new bone and call this blink. I'm just going to stick it up here a little bit, and we're going to call it blink. You can put these anywhere you want. It's good to have a better arrangement so that you can not be hunting for the bones. It just makes things take that much longer. But so if you have any kind of a system for that, go for it. Blink. I'm just scattered right now. So let's use the blink there. We're going to create an action for that bone. We're on the bone layer. We're on 0. We'll create an action here called blink. And we could go both directions for this. Let me delete that real quick. Not just a standard action. Let's make this an actual bone dial. So we get two directions. I'm going to go with -70 and and 70 instead of 90. This can be, it doesn't matter. 24 frames is fine. And I just like to keep the timeline short. So we have this action and things set up. We just need to create the actual eye blink now. So at that frame, I will make this down here, and you can see how it masks away that highlight. These will go here, and we're also going to take these and make their curvature essentially go away. And yes, they both move to the left. I think it's a little thin, so I'm going to pull the points up just a little bit to kind of give the hint of a closed eye like that. I don't want it to vanish when it closes. Also might even bring a little bit of the curvature back to this one here on the end, just so it's slightly, like so. So we make that linear, and then when it blinks, we'll get, I think that works pretty good. It's a bit squarer, more square on that corner. I'm not really liking that action, so I think what I'll do is pull this down. Linear. See if it doesn't screw up the overall shape. I think that works. Okay, cool. And I think then we'll go back to our main line. We'll get blink 2. Blink 2 is going to be the surprise. So we can get a little bit of surprise in there. I think that'd be fine. So it's just going to be a little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. It's a bit big, but I think for a cartoon it's okay. It's not huge, it's just, and I may lessen it, granted. You get the idea. Just wanted to get a little more like, what? And that, I don't think the widening is a good idea, so I'm just going to pull that back out. And this way he just gets a wider eye like that, up and down. Cool. All right, so back to the main line. That's the eye. If he's going to look around, we're going to wind up turning the head. Right now, we don't have a head turn built in. That's going to be a little bit more involved, which we need to absolutely do. Right now, I've got him from left to right, and I think that's the way he's always going to be seen, is left to right. I mean, if there's a weird reason to have it from the front, we can do that. There is a sort of 3/4 view from the top, though, that I'll have to kind of sort out. It might be a completely new redraw of the bird, or at least this bird, and drug around a lot, points drug around to change that position. Okay, so now we're going to need to smart bone some of this other stuff. I'll probably make I'm thinking a control for the feet. So one each foot, like a grasp control. So I think what I'll do is probably do a dial for that as well, since I want it to go from this mid position to open to completely closed, just to have it. We will select the background. We will create on the bone layer, I almost said bird layer, a grab right for the foot. I'm going to call this grab right. If you've never done smart bones and smart bone dials, these are very awesome. Show label so we can see what it is. And then we'll go into here and create action for grab right. Just going to go to 24. It's just an arbitrary frame, but you need to make sure you have enough frames if you have a lot of changes in between, but 24 is more than enough for just closing the hand. I hope I have these in front and behind the way they need to be. And these are just going to be the fingers, not the hand moving at all. So we're just going to go to foot right. We're going to go with toe 1 here. I don't know how well these bones, I don't think any of these bones are bonded now that I think about it. So that's what I need to do first. My bad. Let's go back. I'm going to delete that action for the moment. I don't want that to mess with anything. So we're just going to go back to the main line. And we need to actually point bind everything because we have our bones moving. You can see here, this does control the layers on the beak, but the beak is not bound, truly bound to those bones yet, which could be a problem. I don't know, but it could be a problem later. So what we're going to do is come down here to beak top, and I'm going to go into the actual layers and not just do the folder on this one, and go to highlight, and we're going to bind that to that top beak bone just directly, I think, like that. I'm going to go to the beak top, and yeah, I think that's fine because we already did a kind of a morph of it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and bind that one here as well. Let's just double check now on my movements to make sure it's not just going to override that and do something different. Yeah, that seems perfectly fine. Now if we wanted to not have this corner of the mouth move forward in any way, we could, you know, bind these top ones, but I think it's fine for this little guy. And then the bottom beak, we're going to bind to the lower bone as well. So we're going to go here. I'm going to say bind this one to this one. You can see the thick red line it makes. I'm going to go back up to here just to make sure that didn't whack out any of the things I've already set for it. So, yeah, looks perfectly fine to me. Perfect. All right, so then the eye needs to be bound to the head bone, the head, you know, and so forth. So let's go ahead to the beak top. All that's done. Oh, the inner mouth and all that has to be done as well. So let's take the inner mouth and bind it to I guess we could do that to the top bone there, and this mouth lower to this bone. That should be fine. Sometimes when you bind stuff and you go in and then do a head turn, it wigs out and throws stuff off, and you have to kind of re-rig that stuff. This should not give us problems, but I've said that before. I'm just going to double check the opening now and stuff, make sure it's still good. Looks good. Okay. And now let's get our eye bound to the head just directly as a let's do it as the actual separate pieces. Okay, let's just do that. I may regret that, but I think it's fine. Shadow, let's do it to the head as well. The head now isn't going to be just one thing to the bone. We need to do the neck attached to the body and stuff. So we're going to go with this head now. And we're just going to take the points of the head here and none of the lower points. We're going to attach all of those to that head bone. We're going to select the body bone and mount all of these, or bind all these to that bone. So now when the head moves, we're going to get kind of a flex. These are corrective actions we have to take for that bone. Obviously the shadow though is not moving with the head, so we're going to go to main head shadow now, and this one has to be kind of broken apart as well. So we'll take the head bone, and then we'll go and select all the points we want bound to that. I think what I'm going to do is kind of come up a little bit light here, like maybe this, and leave the rest for the body. There'll have to be some corrective stuff because these will get real close and kind of get weird, but we'll just go like that. Go ahead and bind these together. Boom, good. And now when we move the head, you can see that the shadow stays with the body. Obviously these need to be corrected, but you get the idea. I think that's all good. I also need to make sure that this orange spot, let's find out what that is with. It's probably the beak shadow layer. Yeah, it is. Really shouldn't be on that layer. It should be a separate one for the eye. So I should fix that because when we do a head turn, that's going to probably make a problem. I'm going to go ahead and take that and cut that. And then we're going to go create a new layer. Got to keep this one under the eye. This is going to be eye ring, let's call that. Or eye shadow, either one. And we'll just paste that pretty much in place where it was. And then we need to attach that now to the head bone again. So that's all good now. All right, so back up here, everything should be good and working. We need to make a corrective action for this head bone though. So we're going to select it. I'm going to come over and make sure we're on 0 and the bone layer and create a new action called head. About 24 in, I'm going to tilt the head forward. And we're going to fix the things that this warps out and makes ugly. So we want to go, you know, enough to where he looks like he's actually moving. And then we want to take the head layer, this one first. You can see how it creates this loop. We do not want that loop. So I'm just going to come back here and start moving some points around that sort of correct the action, like we said. This might even come down a little bit. I don't know. I need to correct the curvature if nothing else. You can see that that's kind of trying to cut off that other thing. It's creating a weird curve there. All right, so that's all right. This can even straighten out slightly as the other, you know, bends. So not bad. Let's just make these linear first off, though. Very important to get that going for the action. And once this is here, I think that's pretty good. Obviously not the shadow yet, completely. I think that can flex a little with the body, the shadow that is. Obviously there's an issue right there too. But I kind of want this head to be a little more rounded in the back, at least when it's in this position. You don't want to mess with this too much, otherwise it'll kind of start to make it look like his head is, you know, deflating or something when he moves, but which may be the effect you're going for. Who knows? But I think that is good. And let's move to the shadow. Oh, I got to make those linear. Don't forget, every move you make, check that. And with the head main shadow on 24. And did I do that at the wrong frame? I did. Let's just put this back to the right frame. Head main shadow now. We need to correct some of that too. So a little bit of straightening some of this garbage out so it doesn't get all twisted and wrinkly and weird. I'm going to pull this down to here. Just kind of close any gap that might have created. And we may or may not want to drop this shadow slightly, you know, because it is moving kind of the shoulder and neck area a little bit when he moves his head. So it's not going to hurt anything to make that happen. Just make sure that it's linear. And we'll see what that looks like. So I think that's working pretty good. In fact, let's take this headline and see a weird thing happening. That's not what I meant to do. And sort of push this over now. So now that should kind of keep consistent. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And we'll go back up to the main line. We're going to create a new action for that bone. This will be called head 2. So back on the bone layer, we're going to create a new action. It automatically will make head 2 if you've done it right and named your stuff right. If you guys are watching, I'm Sean Darling. You're watching Fable Forge. That's the new channel name. If you're watching, though, say hi in the comments. Let me know you're there. Makes me feel like I'm not talking to a blank wall, which is always fun. Okay, so once that is there, let's go ahead and tilt this back and get, because it has to look up at one point. I want to make sure he has enough bend that it just kind of makes sense. So obviously we need some corrections. We will make a linear that bone move and come down to our head layer and get rid of these nasty things that happen here. Let's turn on, have to make sure we're not selecting something here. Make sure now we can adjust our curvature. So that's okay. I'm going to move a couple of points around just to make this make a little more sense. There we go. I'll work about on that in a second. So the head coming back, we can make this linear, but we can check just how this is going to look, obviously. So that really needs to either shorten or come down a little bit. I think we do a combination of both. So we'll make that come down a little bit. This can be like so for now and see what happens there, making it linear again. So that's not too bad. We need to adjust the cutoff and the shadow and whatnot here. Let's I'm just gonna pull this below that because that's a little weird, right? All right, cool. So there's that, and now the shadow we can correct. And when you click on it, you can automatically see what's collapsing or what's doing the wrong stuff. This really needs to kind of move, kind of like the whole shadow a bit, I think. I don't like how that's not moving this stuff. So we can use our magnet tool. We can make it really small. Just sort of grab some of these and reposition them definitely better. So I'm just going to make those linear, definitely put it back on the proper frame. Come on now. And see, yeah, that doesn't really need to go in like that so much. I'm going to squish these, kind of get these resituated. It's tedious, but once you get an eye for not looking at the detail too much, I totally screwed that up, didn't I? Those three are supposed to be coming more out than they are going in. So this one should be kind of doing this business, and so should this one. So that's the start of it. So not bad. And we'll pull this one down. These will obviously come down. You eventually get used to moving this many points in a way that makes sense. You can't get hung up in the details, though, otherwise, you know, you get hung up in the details. But just try to do your best to not sit there and look too closely, because you really want it to move. It won't move organically if you do that. You know, you'll wind up doing silly things that aren't necessary, which I have often done. Let's just kind of take a look at the overall. That's really what you want to be doing too, is how does that look overall? So I'm going to stretch these out just slightly, even though we may or may not see a difference of much, but these are going to go up slightly as these crush down. So a little better. I think even these could come down some. You don't want to really get it into the wing, though, because it should be compressing into that, right? So, and that being so much shorter is a little weird. So, all right, I think that works. Now, if we could look on the bone layer and do it instead, so you don't have that. Yeah, I think that's fine. That'll work. He just needs a little bit of an indication that he's looking up. So back to the main line. We have the head corrected. We have the blinking and the opening of the mouth. We did not finish our grab. I'm not sure why I started this and then didn't finish it, but that's what I do. So we're going to go to that foot again. Oh, it's because I hadn't bound anything. That's right. That's why. I know that. So let's go ahead and bind the body now. This was the whole point of doing this. So back on the body layer, we'll go here to the actual body. Some of that needs to be bound to the head, obviously. So we're going to click on the head bone. We're going to go to our points, and I'm thinking, let's go ahead and do all those. I'm making decisions, you know, you kind of have to decide what's the most practical way that can connect. Otherwise, it won't work. I'm gonna steal that one back, and we'll just take this part of the body here now and put those to that. I'm gonna wait on the root. I think I'm gonna put everything to the butt on that one, that butt bone. Do I have a butt bone? I do. That's a wing and that's a wing. So this is our lower. That's what we're looking for. And now I'm going to, yeah, these don't need leg flexing. Tail flexing, probably not, because that's going to be more of a cute movement for it to not have to bend with that tail, or the body bend with the tail, and vice versa. So I think that works. We obviously need to test, you know, the body movement. So the head movement, now that we've bound the other, is going to be completely thrown off. So what we do in that case is go back to our body bone, and I think I'm going to definitely lose this one to start with. So let's just see. And I like to work in small increments here as far as that's concerned. So we'll go back to what's here. We will add this point into that head movement now, bind that, and then now check this again, and you'll see that it works a little better. And I think that's not good. So good question. Let me redo these again. I'm going to go ahead and grab that head bone. We're going to say for the head, let's just include only these three. And then for the body, we'll do the rest of the body. So let's just see what happens when we do that. I just want it to have flex for the head moving, but not to move the entire body when it does. I think that's what the plan was anyway. Ah, that's killing me though. Let me see, this head movement said that when that dips down, that does that. Right. But being bound to the body way it was, it is kind of interfering with itself at this point. This is fine when the head is down. So let's go back. Now that we've got the body bound, we can redo this action. So this will be down, this will be down, essentially like this, where we're not getting nasty flexes. So you just got to redo your actions. I should have probably bound everything before I went and put any actions in at all. So that works. That's fine for the down. Can only go so far before it wigs out. And then the head too, obviously, it needs to be redone. So as this goes this way, some of that's okay, but there are a couple of weird things happening. I'm going to drop this back a little like so. And I think that's fine now. Just make it linear. So now the head should be relatively good when it moves. We can jump back out and check that. Now, it's going to seem still a little bit weird, but when you move it extreme past... Oh, we are also not on an animatable frame, so that makes a huge difference as well. So you can see now when I do it, it will probably be absolutely fine. Where is my bone layer? So now that we're on an animatable frame, anything above 0, yeah, we've got good movement now. So as long as you don't go this far, just that far. Yeah, right to there. So we can also put limits on that bone. So the way you do that is select the bone, go to angle constraints, and we can see now If we wanted to dial this one back to where that was our limit, we just move to where we want that to be stopped, you know, there, like this. And then the angle constraint for the head, or the moving back, we can move back to where we know it's going to go until we have a problem, like right there, and then go back into our the bone constraint for that, which is going to be, why can't I see my bone constraints? Right here, there we go. And you just adjust the other one to match that. So that's as far as that can even go now. So anytime we want to move the head, we can no longer move it past the part that's going to make it break. So that's perfect. Okay, cool. All right, so now when we move the body, we need to fix anything that gets wonky here. Don't worry about the wings. As a matter of fact, I'm going to turn those off for now. And the tail probably. Let's get rid of all that stuff. And we're going to need to make actions for that blobbiness. So I'm going to go back to the 0 here. And this is going to be, make sure our bone has a name, chest. And we're going to create an action for chest. Come up to 24. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know. Alrighty, so then we're going to take this guy at frame 24 and bend it down. And you can see we start to get this really crappy bend. But that's okay. We need him to bend, like say if he's going to eat or look at the ground or something. So right here, we'll go ahead and make these linear. And we're going to come down to the body layer. Not the shadow yet, but the body. And I'm just going to grab these appropriate points here now. And adjust as needed. Something like that. I kind of wish we had a smoothing brush or a relax brush for these points. I think that would be cool to kind of rub over it and it sort of straightens them out, like in doing retopology in 3D. That'd be really handy to have in here. If you guys do it and it's my idea, let me know. Give me some credit or something. Okay, so right about here, I think we can adjust this little guy. Make sure all these are nice and linear. All right, cool. That's the body bend forward. I think that this is a little weird up here possibly. It looks like we need another point back here as well. So let's go back out to the main line. I'm going to add, I think, another point in here. I can't tell though. Let me just check. When I move the bone forward, yeah, we need another one right between there. So between the red one and the blue one, just to accommodate, you know, for that stretch. I want to be able to control that. So let me go back to my chest morph here and just see, you know, when that's there. We need a new, you know, spot here to break that up. You can just grab everything and make that linear. So we have the, I also think that's a little dip happening right there we don't necessarily need. Cool. If you guys have any thoughts, questions, you know, tell me you hate my face, whatever, let me know. Okay, so right here we also now need to go into the shadow, obviously, and we need to move it around. I'm going to make a bigger brush to kind of sweep some of these out past the point they should really be at. Something along those lines. We'll fix this here in a sec. The magnet brush is your friend, by the way. If you guys don't use it, you should really use it. It gets a lot of work done real fast. Moves a lot of things around super quick, so I highly recommend that. Let me just see what I've done wrong here real quick. That's not horrible, but let's get this a little more leaned. Just trying to match the kind of the overall shape a little better of what it should be. It's not horrible. It's just mainly for that bone movement, so just keep that in mind. Cool. How's everybody doing? There's quite a lot of people watching. That's good. Or who have watched it, if nothing else. There's our chest. Let's do a chest 2. We have to be on the bone layer. If you ever get that problem. Chest 2. Let's go to 24. And I'm going to bend it this way now. We're just going to get a nice wrinkle in the back. Sounds like some kind of country song. I got a wrinkle in the back. I guess everyone does to a degree, don't they? Okay, so there we go. Let's straighten out the main body shape here. Get this giant loop out of there. Something more like so. Figure out where that really needs to be. Just going to grab that, make it linear, and see where that bend is happening and or failing us. Overall, that's pretty good, to be honest. The shadow needs to move now, though, a bit. So we'll grab our nifty magnet tool, move a few points together. See how handy that is? Very handy. I'm going to make that not round there. In fact, that one, I'm just going to make that a peaked shape at any rate. All right, so make these all linear. Let's see. Not bad. You can even mess with some of this. Like I said, this is all kind of under the wings, but we can't account that for the fact that the wings may or may not be in that position. So some of this may change too. That shadow, and it's in this position. So I'll just stick it like that for now. Looks good. Let's go ahead back to the main line here. See what it does when we move it around in a normal way. I think that works pretty good. Now the butt bone is going to be its own set of issues. Obviously we did not parent this leg correctly, so I'm going to select it, check the parenting. Nope. Needs to parent to probably the butt bone like the other one has, I believe. I think that's probably the smart way. That way when we move it, everything moves with it. He can wiggle his buttocks. And I think, yeah. So now we need to make sure that we are parenting our points, or we're binding our points here. So let's go ahead and get the bird body, do the rest of the binding on that. We really shouldn't be doing corrective actions until we've done our what do you call it? Binding to the bones and all, but let's just do this, I think. I might choose different points, but it's a possibility. So when I move this, we're definitely going to have to make an action for that, but I'm going to wait on that. Let's just get things bound first. Trying to be smart about it. Just want to check something. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. All right. Obviously, this is going to need to change here in a second too, but let's get the feet and legs bound. So let's use leg left. I'm just going to bind it straight to the bone, I think. Because this end is covered, this end will always be right there. You know what I mean? Let's take the right leg and do the same thing there. Actually, the feet and all this, the toes are the only thing that won't be done that way. So let's go ahead and take foot left and bind it directly to the foot. Foot right, the actual foot part, bind it directly. I think we might go back and do point binding, but I don't think we're going to need to. This is such a simple, the articulation is very, very simple, so we don't need a lot of morphing, bending, and whatnot, corrective actions, and so forth. Okay, so for the toes now, because these toes, well, each toe is one whole piece. We will have to break this up, and we're probably going to need more points, possibly. I'm going to do link bones on this. I'm going to try this just straight off the bat with all three of these and see what happens. We'll have to go and put bone power back on them probably, I think, yeah. Because I don't think they, excuse me, work without that. Yeah, they don't. So we need to go and turn their power back on real quick. And we're just going to come here to the power for each one of these. I'm just going to bring a very slight amount of power up for each one of these. I don't want them affecting, anything outside of their own area. Just what is right around them. And then this may save us some time for one. Let's just move a toe and find out. Okay, for whatever reason, they're not linked. So we're going to try this, again. I'm going to select that layer. And does it give me that there? No, it does not. So we're going to select, how do we do that? The bones, link bones. I'm going to shift select the bones. That's probably what I forgot to do. And see if that works. So 2, we're going to shift select these bones, link bones. It should work. If not, I'll go back and just point bind them like I was doing, but I think this definitely should work. And now we'll test. That one does, but man, they look like crap. Cool. This one works, and yeah. See, this is why I don't use this method. I don't really care for it. So we can use this method with other methods as well. I can link these 3 to the foot bone, which is what I was normally going to do anyway, but I'll probably wind up just point binding the whole thing. So what we'll wind up doing then is taking all of these bones. I'm just going to undo that linking. I'm going to go bone, reset, was it release layer and points. For that one, we're going to do the same thing for this one, bone, release layer and points. Got to make sure you don't accidentally click reset all rigging, because it'll destroy all of your rigging, all of it. So release layer and points. You don't want to accidentally go reset all bone rigging here. Release layer and points. Good. So now the foot will get linked. That one's already should be linked, actually, now that I think about it. So that one is. This one is, and I'm not sure why it is still linked. So let's fix that. I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, bone, release layer and points. That should be, oh, that's toe 3. We need toe 1. There we go. Bone, release layer and points. So now when we do this, let me just double check. Yeah, we will go and just straight point bind these together. So what I want to do is select the foot bone to start with, and then these 3 starting points, and we're going to press enter. You don't always have to come up here and hit bind points. You can click the enter key. Somebody actually cued me in on that after a long time one day, and I was like, wait, what? And then so these bind. So now we go to the next bone, which actually you can use your up and down arrows for as well. And these, and we're just going to say, yeah, let's bind those. And then, like I said, if you hit your down arrow, you can go down there. Good shortcut. click all of these now, and whoops, not the bones, the points here, point bind, and you want to select these, I think, yep, because those really need to move with those, and we can move these points around to kind of make this make a little more sense to the joint there without affecting the look of the whole thing too badly. That works for me. Now we should be able to move the toe, and it sticks to the foot there perfectly. And then when we move the toes, you know, not really. We might use corrective actions. I don't think we need that though on those. I think they look fine. All right, so moving on to the next toe. These three bind with the foot, so we're going to select the foot bone. Grab these guys. Enter. We're going to select the next bone down. Those are points we're selecting, so the next bone down. And we're going to say these points get bound to that. And the next bone down, we will get these points. Forgetting where my enter key is. And then that one and these points and enter. So it can be very fast, depending. And then our toe 3, we'll grab these points and bind those to this bone. So let's make sure we have that bone selected first. Enter. And now we'll go to, I'm going to select this bone. Since we have 3 choices, it's going, what do I do? So we're going to select these points here, enter. The next bone, we'll go with these, enter, and the next bone will be all of these guys. So now we can come in here and check. Let's take the power. I think I'm just going to take all the power off all those bones. No point to that. In fact, we'll just do it from that one as well. Go back to the bone layer, go to our power and say goodbye. That should be all of them off. So when we move them now, there should be, you know, exactly what you expect. And if we need correction, like on this toe here, easily done, no problem. This is a little wonky the way it's wanting to naturally bend, but that's because of the shape of the toe. Perfectly fine, works good, perfect, yep. Like I said, they can get corrective actions without a problem. All right, now the next foot. Now we could just copy and paste this leg. It's another way to do it, which probably is not a bad idea. It's the way I got this leg in the first place. So let's just go with, no, let's just redo the rigging. It's fine. We'll go back to here, make sure this is rigged to our leg, which I know that it is, but I like to check just the same. That one is bound full on. I think the foot is bound full on, is it not? It is. So now we need to go to the toes. We will get this bone and these top 3. Okay. And then we can move down the chain. Bone wise, let's actually move back up. This is the bone we wanted. Sorry for those. So we'll select this guy, put these 3 now on that one instead. There we go. So now when we move, I hate that sound. We move down to this bone here, and we can go ahead and do those. Maybe this one here with those, and this bone with those. Simple and easy. Okay, so this one's going to be the foot bone again. We're going to move to the next toe layer. Get these 3 bound to that. Going to select this dude. These are going to be bound to that. Move down, bound to that, and move down and bound to that. Easy peasy. I'm feeling queasy. All right, so there's that, and then the toe 3, we'll get these points to that, move down to the bone, get these points. Now see, this is one of the reasons why we were having some problems with the shape. because these really should be tight like that. And what I'm thinking about doing is pulling this one up here, because these are already bound, but let's do that bone with these guys here, and the next bone. If you put these points where your bones are going to be bending, you'll have a lot more luck with them looking correctly. Duh. But yeah, it's sometimes overlooked. So these are there, and then this one should be with these. Next bone will be these. Okay, cool. So now when we move them, we should have much better luck with how this all moves. If not, we can always move those points after the fact, and they will go good. So if that's good, I'm gonna, just because it's bothering me, I'm gonna take that power off of that grab bone here, because we don't want that on there anyway. We're going to make another grab bone as well for the other one, so I'm just gonna do that while I'm standing here or sitting here on this part. So this will be grab left. We need to make sure that that label shows. Perfect. All right, so we'll work on that control here in a minute. They're not going to do anything for a bit. This will move the whole skeleton. This moves the butt. We need tail now. So let's go ahead to the tail, turn it on. And in that tail layer, we have shadow and tail. So let's figure out what goes where. I want the end of this to be bound to this base bone, or the butt bone. So we're just going to do that like so. Just these four. Bind, we're going to go to the first tailbone, and we're going to I'm going to move a point here back to the more place where that's actually jointed. So let's go there, and then we're going to surround our points, which are going to be these guys all here, and get those bound. And then now the remainder of these for now. I do want to put extra feather bones and make it to where you use a control to make them spread. So we will add that in a bit, but for now I'm just going to bind all this to get our movement correct and stuff to that one. And then we got to get our wings bound. So I'm going to close some of these up just so it's easier to see what we're doing. It's a little crazy. So wing right is going to be on the opposite side of the body. We're not even seeing it, so we're going to have to turn off the tail and the body, probably the head as well, so we can see that wing. And CM wings, and we're going to select this guy. Going to go into this wing folder. We have a highlight and a wing. So we want to make the tops of this wing bound to the chest bone. So we're going to select the chest bone first. We're going to grab these points here, enter, and then we can go ahead and select the upper wing bone and start binding these to those. So like this. Move down in the chain and grab these. Yeah, I guess that'll work. And down and grab the rest for now. And then now we're going to find the other wing right here. Open this. Oh, we also need to do the highlight. My bad. Make sure we do that first. Let's turn that back off. These also need to be bound to their respective bones. So let's go back to this bone. And then this one could just be all bound to that for now, I believe. And we'll go to the next bone, and You know what? Let's go back up and take these as well and put them on that bone, I think. And then down to the next bone there, we're going to grab all these, I think. Okay. And then the next one will get the remainder. There we go. So now we can turn on that other wing. I'm going to turn off this one just to avoid confusion. There we go. And we'll select the wing here. And we want the body bone first, like I said. So we'll take the chest bone, and we'll take these top ones and bind just those top ones there. Move down to the next bone. Something like that. The next one, we're going to get these. And the next one, like we said, the remainder. And then we'll turn on our highlight. Come back up to this bone. Grab all that. Then all of this. Like I said, there will be adjustments probably because it's hard to guess exactly how it's going to move, when you're selecting all those points. All right, so the wing shadow is going to probably, I think that's going to go with the body. I'm not sure. So I think for the moment, it makes sense to put it at the wing, but then I can't mask it correctly. So I think what I'm going to do is leave it on the body, bound to the body. So that wing shadow will probably go ahead and bind these points to the chest bone here, I believe. And then the rest of them will go here with the butt bone. Seems like intuitive you'd put it with the wing, but the thing is the wing can lift up and get off the body, and you just need to move the shadow over to simulate, the shadow moving off of it. So I'm going to do it that way. We have all of this, the eye, the beak shadow. Let's turn on the head and the body. I'm not sure what else we need here. The tail, I think, is good. And I know we don't have corrective actions for absolutely everything, but we're just gonna see if it moves. So this wing does move. This wing moves. It's not pretty, but you get the idea. We can get some flippy floppy out of it. Like what I was saying, this can go here. Now you can move your shadow, but we can use the body to mask that shadow. So we're gonna take the shadow, I think. Where's my wing shadow? And I want to put that with the body, probably in the body layer, in fact. And then we take that wing shadow and stick it above the body, I think, mostly like that. So now, because this has a mask on it, when that wing lifts up, you can see that it's masked. So if I were to move the shadow, I'll just grab its points, I guess. If I was to move the shadow, because the wing goes up, I mean, I think you get the idea. These aren't going to show, you know what I mean? They're going to be masked off as if the shadow was moved as well. So if we were on this frame here, and that's a better way to show it, I can move the wing up, give you an idea. Something like this. Obviously, we need to corrections here, but the wing shadow now can move like it's under the wing, but see, you have that nice cutoff, and it looks good and real. Cool. All right. think I saved it. Darn it. I did. Can't do an undo after a save, so I'm going to have to put this back in position. And hopefully I didn't crash it. If I did, the video's over. That's cool, though. We've gotten a good run. Hopefully I don't have to redo anything. But I'm going to let this try and save real quick. It did save, so that's always a good thing. Okay, cool. Perfect. So now I can just go ahead and delete these accidental keyframes I did. We'll go back, and they're not accidental, but you get the idea. Just get rid of these here, and everything's back to normal. Cool. So let's check our movements here. I want to also get rid of this grab power. I'm going to check the movements of the legs. They do move. Everything works. These move. Cool. So now we can do our little grab, I think. We'll start there. And all that's going to be is an action of this. And this is going to be a smart bone dial and not an action. So we're going to select it. Go to bone, make smart bone dial. Negative and positive 70 over 24, that's fine. When this goes this way, we'll make it squeeze closed. You're like, well, how do you do that? Well, like this. So we're going to just come here and grab our bones and move them how they would be if they were closed. Just like that. And we can turn the toes off and on if we want to correct any of the layers and all that as well. But you can see now we've got an action that will, when the bone moves, it will open and close the claw. So let's go in and correct our fingers here. So this is going to be on leg right or foot right. And go into toe 1, and you can see we can adjust our curvature to make sure these bends are nice and let me undo that. There we go. Make sure these curves are nice and tight and truly bent and not roundy and weird. You can adjust where those points are at like any other part of the animation as well. So that looks nice, and we can even sharpen some of these if we wanted to. I don't want to make them look angular. It's not an evil bird. And also, if they are, you know, you don't want to decrease your volume, I guess is what I was going to say too. So that looks good. Let's go to the next. We'll just have to make sure they're linear. Obviously linear. I want to make sure that the bone movement, oh yeah, we've got that linear. So the next toe would be toe 2. That sounded funny. Deselect this and just kind of come in here, make that smaller, maybe like at a 2 or 3, and just sort of adjust these around. And then this single points. And I'm just looking at this in relation to my bones that are there. You're like, how do you see where you're supposed to put those? Well, I'm watching the bones for that particular finger or claw or whatever, talon. There we go. Let's make that one tighter. This one tighter, so they don't look like rubber hose animation stuff. It's a little bit tighter there. Those. Okay, good. And probably that middle one can come up slightly and have a little more like the muscle of the toe. Not that we're worried about the musculature of this crazy little bird, but you know. Also, where is this one? Okay, perfect. This can go here. This will go here. This is actually 3 at the top. I forgot. Something like this. This one's going to get more of a peak. And all of these will be made linear, so I need to go back and check them all. That every movement I have done has been done linearly. So any of this too gets peaked out a little bit more. Not so roundy. Make these all linear. Need to go back to this other toe. These were not done, so I'm glad I checked. Make sure these are done as well, and that the foot is good, and that the actual bone movement is linear. So now you'll see for this particular action, when we come back out to the main line and go to like an animatable frame, that when we move this, we get this nice... He can grab a branch. You know, if he flies up onto a branch or a shelf, we can now make him grab it. That's the whole point of it. So, cool. Yeah, nice. Now we want to make it open the other way. So we just go back here, got the same thing done. We are now going to delete these keyframes and go to frame 0 on the bone layer, make a new action, and if it doesn't say the right thing, either you're not on frame 0 or you don't have the right bone. The reason why on this is because we already have a grab. We need to grab 2. It automatically created it because this is a bone dial, so we don't need to make that action. Just go into grab 2, goes the other way, and now we make it open more, which will be a lot easier because we don't have to do as many adjustments. So we're going to go like this. Obviously that'll be corrected a little bit. This, get the straighter, you know, more attacky position, like he's reaching out to grab something, right? So that's going to be that. We're going to make sure these are all linear. We'll need to do that all the way through, but this particular one, you just make sure this is all, yeah, that should be all good. Per bone or no? Okay, no, it's good. All right, so we'll go back to the feet where the toes are. This is where we make our adjustments. So this will be more in line with those joints correctly, so they don't get really wonky and weird when this happens. This is where you need to make them linear again. We'll go to number 2. Number 2, I'm a 3rd grader, and we will make sure these are nice and correct as well. Like this, make it linear, test it. Yep. And then the last one probably needs the most work. Just get these kind of situated better. Can even flex a little wider there. There we go. Linear. And just test it as well. Okay, works for me. All right, so then we got the other foot to do. So that's a whole lot of rinse and repeat. So back to our main line, we're going to go with grab L now. Make sure you're on the bone layer. Make sure you have the particular bone selected you want to use. We're going to go to bone, make smart bone dial. It's going to all be all the same settings. I like to go 70 instead of 90 because it just feels like you're within parameters, and you know, just seems more natural to me. This is grab L. We're going to go down to the left foot, close up the right foot, and go into the toes here. And at that point, we need to grab the actual bones. And this is going to be for the closing animation. So we're going to rotate the toes closed. More like so. We want to get the grab, so trying to make it, you know, a little more nice looking. There we go. And then these and this, something like that. So all of that will be done linear. And then now the actual adjustment of the layers. So toe 1, same thing as before. Just trying to get these points in the best position per toe. That's a Latin phrase, right? Per toe. And there we go. There we go. Linear. I'm going to fix the curvature on these ones here. Just make them a little bit more angular. They just feel a little more on purpose, right? Okay, and then that looks good. Make them all linear. Go to toe 2. Tiptoe through the tulips. Get these. Whoops, that's the wrong part. But it is something that needs to be adjusted just the same. Let's select the correct point though. There we go. Just trying to make it a better shape. Little muscle in the middle is good. Get this a little more toward the area it should be. Then we can go play with the curvature on these. Get those a little tighter of a bend. That way it doesn't look cartoony, or at least as much cartoony. This is a cartoon, but it's not like a, you know, silly cartoon. Linear. We'll move over to toe 3. Get that sorted. This one got wonked out pretty good, so like that-ish. That works. Looking for the other toe bone. Oh, there it is. It's just in red. It was hard to see. Cool. This can go here. This will be more here. I think that is fine for that. And now we can do deselect and adjust the curvature. If you don't deselect, you can have multiple points. You go to the curvature tool. It will not let you move anything because it only wants you to move one point at a time when you're adjusting the curvature. So just remember that as well. I always make that mistake and like, why can't I move anything? What's wrong with Moho? And it's because it's selecting multiple points, which it does not like to do in the curvature tool. Okay, so make sure all this is linear. You can test that. And see here in this part that kind of comes off. You can adjust that, and now you have a new keyframe within there. Let's keep that all on track. And I think my first keyframe is a little weird. I'm going to go to that one and just kind of readjust these points. I just don't like that feels that off. So that makes that better. Perfect. Cool. All right, so now we have, we go back to our main line. We need our second grab where this one opens now. So we have grab L2. Sorry, I think my allergies are making me foggy throated. All right, so this will be, that moves over to here. We're gonna have to move this bone probably eventually. But for now, we'll go to the bone layer and adjust these as if they were spreading out. For the most part anyway. Spreading the claws. Okay, and we will make all those linear and then come down to the left toes to adjust their points. I'm trying not to be too much perfectionist, but it's kind of what I do. I think if you take more time with it, it just is going to look better. All right, there we go. Linear, make sure that one looks okay. I think that's fine. The next toe, 2. Sorry, the allergies are strong today. I think there's a lot of pollen in the air or something. I never got allergies or allergic reactions to things before for a long time, but now all of a sudden, I moved to Missouri and back is what it is. That place is hell. And it made me, maybe it reset my ability to fight off the junk in the desert. Man, I'm going to have to mute my mic, huh? I'm not a fan, though, of having things like allergies. No one is, but I'm more so upset by it. So if you guys have any questions, comments, like what you're seeing, hate what you're seeing, let me know. All right, so I think overall that's good action for the spreading. Back into our main line. So now we have this. I'm just going to have to now come up with I don't know if I need to spread the wing feathers, but the tail feathers probably, because it's going to go up and down. And I'm thinking that when it does, it would be cool if the tail could kind of flare out. I mean, it probably doesn't need it, but you know what? I just think it would look better. And that's all the more reason to do it, I guess. So I'm thinking maybe from this bone, I can add a few that will go from like here. We'll go back up again and add another one rooted in the same place. So where there's just like 3 maybe or something, and they might even need to be higher up. Let's see, maybe move this one somewhere here. And that one kind of here as well. And I want them sort of hidden until, he's deciding to spread the tail a little bit. So on the tail layer, we'll just go here. I'm going to add behind that layer. So I'm going to make one and then move it lower. A feather. Let's say feather left. We'll make another one here shortly, but for the moment, I'm just going to add sort of a shape. It kind of mimics the one that's already there. I'm probably making more points than I need, but hey, why not? We're going to have to create that shape now real quick. So fill, let's just go fill and stroke. Yep. And then we need to make that. So that's masked and I don't want it to be. So I'm going to move this out of that group. There we go. But it needs to be behind. So let's close the tail. Let's take the feather and put it behind the tail and above the wing. That way we still have it here like so. And then we need to make the end points peaked. And then I can adjust those in a little bit now that it's been drawn. And I'm going to duplicate this one to be the next feather as well. This just gives a little more play, volume and look, to it all. And then this particular tail layer needs to be bound to that particular bone. So that works there. And now I'm going to take this feather layer and duplicate that. This will be feather, let's just call it right, even though it's not necessarily the case and it is hard to tell. We have a feather right, and we're going to move that one. Let's just get its orientation starting here. We're going to move that one around to there. And we're going to bind it to the other bone. So now when we, let's turn the power off of those as well. Now when we move those, take the bone, where are we at? We need to be on 0. We are on 0. We are not on the bone layer is what it is. So we get there. We can take our power, pull that off of that one, pull it off of this one. And now when we move these guys, they should fling out our little tail feathers, which it's not bad, but maybe these need to be bigger or we need a couple more. Because that works, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? Let's go into the bones here. I'm going to move this bone back. And then I'll move the artwork for this feather back as well. Like I said, they may need to be bigger, longer, probably longer and bigger, both. So I'm going to exaggerate the size. I think that's much more appropriate. We're going to angle that, put it where it is over the bone, and then we're going to make the bone also longer. Not that it needs to be, but for the sake of confusion, I am going to do that. Guys, have any comments or like what you see or whatever, let me know. We're just going to put this there. The binding should still be holding just the same. I think that looks a little better. This bone we're going to move now back to a similar place, probably more like that to the side. And the other feather, which is going to be feather right, will also now move to the right spot. We need to move its orientation point. We can move the layer, we can whatever, however we want to do this. I'm going to go ahead and diagonally increase this one like that. Okay, so when we move this, it should work just fine. I'm just going to increase the bone length here to match the tail. The whole point of this is I want his tail to kind of be able to kind of spread out just a little bit, and I want that to be hidden, not obvious until we have a flicker and the tail can kind of get more wide like this. I might want to duplicate these now as well, and then I'll make an action that spreads the tail. So let's see, if I make another one, we have to make, I think I can just do this from the bone, no? Let me see. Is that a Control D? No, let's just deselect everything, create a new bone, and I'll duplicate the artwork. So I'll just do this, make this one a shorter one. We'll call this feather right 2, and then we'll duplicate the feather right layer again, duplicate feather right 2, perfect. That one can go behind feather right though. And then we'll take that layer, move it over to be sized correctly and whatnot. Cool. And then when we take the bone for that one and move it, it should spread out even farther than the others. Let's turn the power off. And like I say, it's a little tedious to do this, sure, but it's kind of necessary. I need to make sure my parenting is right, that this doesn't look like that's parented to anything. So that really needs to be parented to the butt bone. So we're going to take the parenting and say, you go here. And now when we move that, that should wiggle. We just need to make sure we parent the artwork to it now as well. So feather R2, we need to bind layer-wise to the new bone. And I just want to make sure that works. So we're just going to check this one, the tail, this one, and there'll be another. So we're going to take, we're going to make another bone just real quick. I know it seems much more involved than it really is, but we're going to make another bone. We're going to actually select the tailbone because this is the way you do this smartly. Which is this one. Almost did the wing bone. And we're going to create another bone here that is shorter as well. About like that. And it's going to be tail, feather, let's just call it feather, left 2. Am I right? Am I right? Okay, and because this one's feather, whoops, I made a new pin bone. Right here, this one is feather right 2, this should be feather left 2, and then we will duplicate Either or. I think I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the feather R2 artwork and call it feather L2. This is where I get confused all the time, is the naming. And you have to really pay attention to what you're doing so you have it right. So feather L2 can now be moved over here and made to be for that guy. And then you have to bind it to the proper bone, obviously. Okay, so I'm just going to check and make sure all these move correctly and we turn the power off on that new guy. Like that. And if they move correctly, then we can create the action that does the tail spreading. Okay, cool. All right, and I think that will give us a better, you know, like when he flitters around, this is going to give us that more panic, frantic look. And when he flies, we can spread the tail. And that way when we move the butt, that goes, and then we can move these independently as well. Now, granted, this one, these probably should be bound to the main tail like these are. So that's easy to fix. We just select the bone, which would be this guy. We want it parented to that one, so we say reparent here. We select this bone and say reparent here also. Now when we move the tail, all the bones move together. This moves independently, these move independently, and so on. Cool. All right, so now we need to create an action for that tail of the spreading of the feathers. So what we want to do is also start out with all of those feathers pushed to the center to where we can't see them, or mostly like this. So now it just looks like a tail. That's the default position. We're going to select, oh, darn it. Okay. It's going to be difficult, is it? Why is that not letting me create? Oh, I have to move the separate bone and separate artwork to do that. So that's fine. I'm going to go with an action that's going to create the movement here first. So select everything, deselect it, make another bone. I'm going to call this tail spread. Like that. We're going to turn on its label, and we're going to now create the action, but it's actually going to be a smart bone dial. Boom, perfect. So now when we go to the left, I think it's going to go, this is going to confuse me if I do it backwards, but I think when I go here, I think I'll make that go down. It's not even actually moving the tail. This is just spreading. I forgot. So this here needs to be completely closed. So that's how we're going to sort this business. So this is going to be completely closed. So we're just going to pull all of our tail feathers in. Yep, this is going to be the perfect setup now. We're going to make sure that that is all linear. Then we're going to go and create, or go to spread 2 and make sure that when this is open, these are as wide as they're ever going to get. So something maybe kind of like this. That way you have the bigger, wider tail. And so now we can link that linear, go back to our main line, and you'll see that when we need to, we can close the tail, open the tail, close the tail, open the tail. How awesome is that? That's why I do this. Cool. If you guys got any thoughts, let me know. Something for the wings would also be nice, but I'm going to take a break and we'll get back to that. Cool. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to go for a while. And like, subscribe, and make sure you comment on some stuff. Ask me some questions. All right, cool. Talk to you guys.